Good morning. I'm intentionally giving you a look at outside because that's what I want to talk about. When I'm up here alone, I usually have my Apple Radio going, and one of my favorite performers from days gone by, which I would have loved to have heard her live. I tend to maybe copy her style, Annie Murray. And when I was 14, I got an album, yes, an old-fashioned vinyl album of Annie Murray, and I was beyond thrilled because that's all. We didn't have TV; we just had a record player, and I would lay in front of it for hours and imitate her. And to this day, I can sing Danny's song or Snowbird without blinking. But the song that caught my attention this morning was "A Little Good News." Now, to show how dated the song is it's all about what if the newspapers had nothing to print but good news. And Brian Gumbel was talking about the morning news, and it's like, okay, now that really dates us. But we want good news. I don't watch the news because it's depressing. I don't read the paper because, well, we haven't got the paper ever. When my mother was alive, if she didn't get me the paper, I had no clue who had died. And yes, I missed a few funerals because I wasn't reading the death notices and the obituaries. But oh well. We want good news, and we want to maybe be good news, but we want to share good news. And I can bet you money that when you get some news that is exciting, you're going to dial up somebody or text somebody and say, guess what I know? Because, okay, we do that with bad news too. But with good news, we do it because we're excited. It's good news. So what is good news? Because often good news to one person is not good news to another person. So if I win the lottery, it won't happen. I've never played the lottery and I don't plan on starting now. But if I won the lottery, that means a bunch of other people lost. And I always thought it was amusing when people would pray for their team to win. And I'm going, but what's God going to do? Because the other team's praying to win. Somebody's going to lose, and that's not good news if you're the one who are losing. So we love good news, but we want good news that's good for us. And very seldom do we embrace bad news and say, that's the best thing I've heard yet today. We just don't. But the good news in the Bible was proclaiming who Jesus was. And people went everywhere proclaiming who Jesus was. And to some, that wasn't good news because they had to change their lives. And to some, that became really not good news because they lost their life. And to some, proclaiming the bad news was not good. So we take that word good and we play with it and we kind of make it fit where we want to fit. You lost a job. It's maybe not good news for you, but maybe the job needed changing. Your car quit. We had a battery issue last week. Bad news, because we had to buy a new battery. Good news is it quit at a place where the guy actually knew us up here, and very helpful and very good advice. So when we look at news, regardless of the adjective we put in front of it, bad news, good news, there's a way we can turn it. But let's go back to Jesus and the coming Messiah and the good news. There's some times where you can't say things. Words don't work, words don't reach, and words offend. So how can we be good news? That Jesus is the Messiah, that we have hope, that we have life, that we, a rainy day on the lake isn't bad news. Well, I think that's changing how we think of sharing good news. My son and his daughter, that would be interesting. He will be having a daughter, but my son and his wife found out last week they were having a baby girl, which we are all thrilled at because those of you who follow me know we just had a grandson born a couple weeks ago. And they knew they were going to find out what it was. And they didn't call me and they didn't call me and they didn't text and they didn't. And I got worried because now maybe the good news, something was wrong and it wouldn't be good news. But no, they were choosing to have this great big giant cookie explaining the good news. It's a girl. We can live the good news of Jesus being the Messiah, and we don't have to use a lot of words. It's called love, and it's called serving. And there are times when loving and serving someone doesn't need words. It can be good news, just felt. I was in Indiana a couple weeks ago, and I was on my way back to Illinois. Long couple thousand miles of running around the Midwest, which was also mid-central, whatever that part of the world is. And so I was in Indianapolis and heading back to Illinois, and I needed to stop and get some stuff for my daughter, so ran into a Target. And when I came out, there was a young couple, not of my culture, and definitely not of my age, because I use the word young, therefore a describer. And they had a sign, and, I read the sign coming out of Target, and I don't ever do this, but I knew I had some change in my back pocket that I had slipped in my back pocket. And they had a baby. Okay, maybe that's what got me, is they had a baby. But you can tell a lot by people's eyes. When they meet your eyes, there's a different look in people's eyes as when they avoid you and just... So I thought, all caution to the wind. I unzipped my little back pocket, walked over and handed the mom the money, and then just kind of kibutzed with the little girl, the baby, and the dad a bit, and walked to my car. And I thought, I don't know if I did the right thing, but I did a thing. And then as I pulled out of the parking lot, ding came into my brain. Now, I don't know if you ever have dings. Some people call them ideas. Some people call them bad ideas, especially my husband, because when I have an idea, it usually involves him. And I reached in my backseat of my car, which I have a bag of books, because I do write books. And I turned the car around, and I drove back over, and I drove right alongside the mom, rolled my window down and handed her a book and said, "God bless you," and drove off. Was it good news? I don't know. But it was a loving act. And hopefully someday they might read it. And someday, hopefully, someone else will talk to them more about the good news. But for the moment, I did what God laid in my heart. So the good news in our actions can be powerful. So don't just think you have to talk, and that's coming from someone who talks. Sometimes the best thing we can do is love with actions. And that's the kind of good news that Jesus went about, doing good things. He didn't always talk. And now the good news today is a ladies' retreat is starting, and the rain will be moving out. And the better part of the good news is I brought up a whole bunch of plants and transplanted them last night. And yes, I did get up and water them this morning, so it would keep raining, but they're really getting watered. Okay, so that's good news. It can't be out on the lake. But news doesn't always have to have the adjective in front of it, good news or bad news. It's what we do with it, how we process with it. And for me, it's like, got to go shopping. Have a great one.